You do not lack access to abundance, you lack awareness of the access you already have. That's the lesson I've learned today after reading the Next is Better Than textbook. It made me realize all the assets I already have that I'm not using. I've been a government employee for the past 9 years, and I just took the DRP that was offered for me to resign in a proper way. And by September 30th, I'll be fully relieved from my functions. And I took that leap because I just wanted to test the entrepreneurship ground. And this was a one-time opportunity that I saw that if I didn't take, my future me will regret. So I took the leap. And the 10x is better than 2x book is a book that I always wanted to read. I had it on my Audible for a while and I never read it. But this past weekend, we went on vacation to South Carolina. We did a road trip with my family, and I decided to start reading it or listening to it while I was driving back, and I was amazed. So far, I've only read one chapter, and that chapter made me realize that this is my life because the example in that chapter is exactly what I'm going through. One example that I want to share, actually two, but the first one is the investment banker example in chapter two because I stop at the beginning of chapter two. It's somebody who right out of school was a young guy who wanted to do financial advising for the rich and affluent. So he went to this huge competitive test where out of 1,000 people, he was one of the few that was chosen because there was a certain requirement to be kept in the company. And I actually think it was the only one, but I'll have to reread it to confirm. So basically, one of the requirements was at the end of the 18 months of the program, you needed to have $30 million under your management. But the thing is, nobody would trust a 20-something-year-old to manage their money. So the guy literally set his goal to not take under management customer that make less than $100,000. Everybody laughed at him, but that goal made him act a certain way, learn things different. So he would literally get to the office before sunrise and leave the office after everybody else and work on weekend. While everybody else was just coming in, going to happy hours, hanging out on weekends. He never stopped hustling. And by the end of the 18 months, he was the only one with 30 million under asset management on top of other certification that they had to get in. But he didn't stop there. After that, he raised the bar to $250,000 at least. And then once he get people under 250, he raised the bar to 500K. After 500K, he raised the bar to a million. After a million, he raised the bar to 2.5 million. After 2.5 to 5 million to 10 million. And then after 9 years in the industry, he decided to create his own asset management firm. Then he expanded. So that's the magic of the techniques, right? So thinking about that story, it makes me reflect on the decision I made earlier this year because I just want that 10x to better my family and to have the freedom to do the things I want to do when I want to do it. Because the best I could have done on my position as a government officer was just 2x, and then he wouldn't have solved the freedom problem. Like I want to have the freedom, like I said, to travel when I want to travel, to do the things that I want to do, and I think entrepreneurship offers me that freedom. I don't want security, right? I want kind of both, but I realized that to get it, you need pay the price, and I decided to jump into entrepreneurship. And to come back, what I was trying to say is I have that skill set of being a government employee for the past 9 years. So I've learned the rouages. I've learned everything that will get me successful on my next move. But I think in the beginning, I just wanted to 2x my Amazon business because I've been doing the under like mid six figures, I would say low six figures for the past 5 years as a government employee. And I figure if I just become an entrepreneur, I can double up. But that's more thinking. And then I had a conversation with my friend this past weekend. He made me realize that, hey, as a government employee with 9 years of experience, your engineering background, and your business background. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So if you put both of them together, you can 10x. And that's true. And I totally agree with him. So I know I've been talking about Amazon selling in the past videos, but I think I'm going to shift gears for in the future, from now on, because I will go and look at those government contracts. That's the next move. I'm the perfect candidate. I understand how to work inside the government. I think I can bring wealth of knowledge to the government contract arena. And with my background, if I don't do that, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm wasting talent. That's my goal. That's my plan for 10x. And after reading that book, I realized and confirmed that would be the right move for me. And the other example in the chapter 1 is that lady that knew nothing about business, whose family never owned a house. And after she got married, her husband decided to jump into a restaurant business because he had worked 9 years in some restaurant. And he thought, hey, why not take a loan and launch his own? Because he knew everything about it. But after the crisis in the 80s, he had to sell the restaurant and take a loss of about $600,000. Then he went to his wife and said, I'll be honest with you, I've heard that real estate is doing well because after the failure in the restaurant business, you should take a real estate license. That's what she did. She took the course, got her real estate license in 1982. And the first year after getting her license, she only made $3,000 of commission. She didn't get that discouraged. She actually went in and she went to every conferences that she get on and learn about real estate investment. She learned that every successful real estate agent had like an executive assistant or secretary, however you want to call it. That's what she did. And after that, her business just exploded. The second year, she made over 6 figures. And then she went ahead and made about $400,000. Then she doubled up. She expanded the team, get another secretary because the secretary was doing all the work, the paperwork, so she can focus on her 20%. She gave the 80%, like the 80-20 rule. It's a rule that 20% of what you're doing equals to 80% of the result, and 80% what you're doing is 20% of the result. So you should focus on the 20% that give you the 80% result. So basically, all the paperwork, all the things that are routine, she just delegated it to the secretary. But after a while, the secretary was overwhelmed. So they made a plan like, okay, what do you like to do? What don't you like to do? After that list, whatever the secretary didn't like to do, she hired another secretary to do those things. And then she started expanding. She was making about $500,000 a year. But she didn't like the fact that she had to pay the brokerage firm 20% of her money. So basically, she kept expanding. And after a while, her company was making $14 billion a year. So those stories are inspiring. And I know it's not easy to do, but I just think it's the right thing because sometimes we might be stuck thinking of, oh, if I'm doing on Amazon, I need to double up on the products that I have so my revenue is going to increase. But next is actually pivoting, right? It's actually looking at the problem totally different and focusing on the 80-20 instead of trying to do everything and double up. If you just focus on things you're good at and delegate the rest, that 20% that give you the 80% result can actually 10x, right? Like the guy that was the financial advisor. By focusing on the $100,000 minimum, he had quality client and it made him reach the goal of 30 million quicker than the people who just accepted anybody. And it also made him having big goals impossible to reach, expand. It made him expand and actually find a way and ask himself, what if? Because if we just keep thinking about doubling, sometimes the brain shut down too. Because the brain is like, okay, if you really work as hard as you work today to get what you are getting, how do you expect doubling that work to double your revenue or income? And then it's hard because you're already working as hard as you can. What if you're already working 70 hours a week? Are you going to work 140 hours a week? That's impossible. But For example, as a government employee, if you already got the experience and now you go into the government contract arena, that makes sense. So whatever we're working on, whether it's real estate, you can expand teams. She reached the 14 billion in real estate by expanding the team, and then she started building teams in different cities in the country. Like she went from California originally to like Ohio and two other cities. I don't remember exactly what they were, but deciding and committing right on the new trajectory, you can shift real fast. And the hardest part sometimes is, let me tell you, like signing the DRP to quit my job, it was hard. It's hard to start over. And she kept starting over. Even when she became a regional superstar, she had to stop her success in California to go build another team in Ohio, Columbia, Ohio. Not a lot of people are willing to do that, right? Imagine in your city, you are the top agent. What's the probability that you will say, okay, I will build somebody else to do this work so I can go and build another team? Most people won't do that, and it's understandable. Reaching uncommon goals, I think you got to become uncommon. You got to do what other people are not willing to do. And coming back to my decision, it wasn't easy. And I don't blame anybody that don't want to do that. It's counterintuitive. Reading 10x is better than 2x made me realize that it's possible. Possible. And I don't think that starting over is crazy anymore, right? I just think with better direction and better team is possible. So that's one big thing that I wanted to share. And in the future, I will keep talking about my progress and documenting this step in my life, this stage. So I'll keep you posted.